Hello, my name is Saini. I'm principal of UTM and vice president of U of T. And I am doing this blog for UTMental theme on stress. Now, stress is something that our students would know very well, especially at this time of the term. We are in the middle of midterms, and that is generally a source of great stress for everybody. You add to that the fact that you are at an institution which is a very demanding institution, it is a very prestigious institution, so the standards and bars are very high, and that adds to, again, student stress very easily. Now you have a life in your private life, which means you have to balance your work as a student against your family commitments, your relationships, difficulties in relationships, the pleasant aspects of relationships, keeping commitments, and so on. So when you add all of those things, it really adds up to a fair bit of stress in life. And that's nothing unusual. Stress is part of life. It's part of my life. I have a very intense job. I love it. Won't trade it for anything else. But it does bring a fair bit of stress in my life as well. Now, stress doesn't have to come from negative things. It's just simply the amount of workload can be stressful in itself, even when you're having fun, which is the case for me. Long hours, too many balls to keep in the air all the time. And that juggling act can itself become very stressful. So let me share with you how I manage my stress. There are various techniques I use. They are almost my second nature. I don't set out to work on those things. They have become part of my life. One of those first things I would share with you is to keep a routine. I try as hard as I can to avoid having wild swings in my daily schedule. I tend to go to sleep at the same time, I tend to get up at the same time, I tend to eat about the same amount of food at each meal, I tend not to stay up too late if there is something very attractive going on, such as a party in the family or something. I would excuse myself, at a reasonable time, maybe on a Saturday night, it may be an hour later than normal, but I won't let it become 4 hours later than normal. So that routine helps me maintain a kind of a steady level of activity in life, which means a steady level of stress, so I don't get these wild fluctuations in my stress level. I work out daily. I start my day generally in the gym or with a jog outdoors, and sometimes early morning around a golf. And those things help me maintain my stress. I am very proud of the fact that I'm in great physical shape, and that hasn't happened by accident. I work hard on it. And starting my day with exercise is one of those things. I started to find 3 years ago that the caffeine in my life wasn't helping me. I was not sleeping as well as I would have liked to. There were other things happening in my life that were not pleasant, and I was wondering what's causing these things, especially not being able to sleep as much as I wanted to, and both in terms of falling asleep when I get to bed and staying asleep through the night. For a year, I completely eliminated caffeine from my life in all forms. It took some struggle getting there because my first week or two were very hard because I actually quit cold turkey, and so that led to some serious difficulties such as headaches and disorientation and so on, because I used to take too much caffeine. But once that phase was over, life became actually much more pleasant. I started sleeping well, and I started working better during daytime. I stopped having those 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. crashes in the day, and when I needed a cup of coffee, and that has lowered the stress level in my life, so I'll leave it there. What else do I do to manage my stress? Hearty laughs. Getting a good laugh at any occasion you can find is a great way to relieve stress, and that includes being able to laugh at yourself. I manage my weekends in a very different way than I manage my weekdays. I take my watch off during the weekend. That's actually advice a friend of mine gave me many years ago. One of the best pieces of advice I've had. So you take your watch off, and that means you have stopped the watch from ruling your life, and you can afford to do that during the weekend. I would still remember any commitments I have, but they're mostly in my mind rather than dictated by my watch and my calendar, and that helps manage the stress. I also use opportunities like the weekends to spend time with the family. We have a very close-knit family, and I like to spend time with my kids, with my wife, with my extended family, and I have a lot of family members around here. And not to forget my dog, of course, who needs a lot of attention, and she waits for the weekend for me to spend time with her. And all of those are stress relievers. Speaking of the dog, having something provides a buffer between your normal workday and your evenings and so on helps, and our dog is that particular buffer for me. When I get home and the door opens and the dog comes running to me, within about 2 minutes I've transitioned from my work life to my home life and to a more relaxed life, and the rest of the evening spent with the dog and the rest of the family actually makes a huge difference to the level of stress that I go to bed with. Another way to relieve stress is to find something outside your normal routine that you really enjoy doing, and then do it consistently. It could be a hobby, it could be reading on something that you love doing, or which is not part of your coursework and exams, or any other activity. Volunteering is a great way to relieve stress. When you're giving to somebody else in any form, it's amazing how much good that brings back to you, and how well that relaxes you. I have many of those things in my life. One in particular that I just love doing is to get away for a round of golf. And when you're out there, in the middle of this beautiful countryside on a golf course, focused on a ball which has a minuscule chance of getting into that hole 500 yards away, and you got to get there in 4 or 5 shots. If you're doing well, then it's amazing how your mind focuses on something so different from your work. And to do that in beautiful surroundings of a golf course is just really, I find it a great stress relief. These are my ideas, these are my thoughts on how I manage my stress, but you have a lot of other thoughts from other video bloggers, and so please look at other videos so you can get ideas from others how they manage your stress. And of course, not everything works for everybody, but I hope that some of those things would work for you, and you will actually make your plate out of that smorgasbord. In addition, there are a number of resources available that you can at University of Toronto Mississauga and in the community that you can use to find more information about how to manage stress. So good luck with everything.